friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction video 456. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. This week right here feel like it went by fast as hell to me. TGIF. And since it's Friday, y'all know who we're about to go back to. Adrian from Coffeehouse. Crime! Back to the Coffee Man, y'all. The Coffee Man Fridays. Hope y'all doing excelente out there today. And I'm glad that you came on back to the channel once again to fuck with the bean. And the title of this video is CCTV reveals a killer's many dark secrets. Now I'm just wondering what the hell is on this CCTV footage, man. Like it could be anything, man. And I'm also wondering, like, did he know that it was a freaking camera recording whatever the hell he did? You know what I'm saying? He or she, I don't even know if it's a he or she, but I'm just saying, did they know they was being recorded? Ain't no telling, y'all. It ain't no freaking telling. But we're about to see though. But before we see though, my brothers and sisters, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you may need. Get what you need, please. Another The Coffee Man Friday. Y'all got what y'all need? Y'all ready to go? Then let's go.
Following a strange and unexplained death in Oxford, creepy surveillance footage of a hooded figure began to appear all over the city. Jorge's death was initially deemed to be a tragic accident, but 2 years later, a tip from the other side of the world triggered a manhunt for a seriously sick and twisted individual. And the more detectives tucked into this case, the more horrific it became. So, who is Scarlett Blake? Why is she referred to as the so-called cat killer? And how is she related to Jorge's untimely murder? Welcome back to Coffeehouse Crime, folks. My name is Adrian, and today I'm taking you to Oxford to look at one of the most angering stories that I've ever encountered. You know, every once in a while, a story like this comes up, and it angers you so much that it feels personal. And this one will outrage you until the very end, so make sure you have your comforts with you. Please consider subscribing if you want to see more stories like this every single week. And now, with that said, please grab yourself a coffee, pull up a seat, and get ready for the deep dive. This is the case of Scarlett Blake.
Get whatever you may need. Man, listen. Adrian just said like 2 or 3 times, man, about this story gonna basically piss you off, and I don't like the sound of that, y'all. I feel a freaking rage moment coming on for me, man, because he just was emphasizing how this story is gonna just have us personally upset. So let's see what exactly happened. I got a feeling the freaking police done effed up. That's my first feeling, but let's go.
Now here's a place I know extraordinarily well. Welcome to Oxford, folks. Nestled in southern England's serene countryside, Oxford shines as a hub of English intellect and culture. Its well-known university, which was founded in the 12th century, epitomizes academic excellence. Wandering its historic streets, you will be mesmerized by timeless architecture and iconic college spires. But Oxford isn't just about its traditional academia, as the city is also alive with artistic vibrancy. Its many theatres, galleries, and museums are rich with history, all of which are surrounded by lovely markets, cozy pubs, and dozens of quaint coffee shops. With a rich history, culture, and so many things to see, it is no wonder why Oxford is internationally recognised, and it's a place I'm very proud to call my childhood home. However, that is not to say that it is free from disaster. And sure enough, in the year 2021, a horrific death became the talk of the town.
Man, I just gotta say, Oxford is a freaking beautiful city, and it's very unique. It looked like it's from way back in the day, but it got the modern look to it at the same time. You know what I'm saying, man? And I just pray to God one day, my brothers and sisters, that I'm just able to travel and just visit different places like this. Beautiful city, man. Let's go.
At 12:15 p.m. on July the 26th, 2021, emergency services were dispatched to Parsons Pleasure bathing place found along the River Sherwell. Several calls had been made to report a body floating in the water, and those observing the situation were certain that, whoever it was, they were dead. The local area was locked down as soon as officers arrived, and soon after this, the body was confirmed to belong to a man in his 20s or 30s. The cause of his death was initially unknown and unexplained, meaning that officers were not sure if this was accidental or if it were a homicide. Soon enough, detectives were able to locate various clues which indicated that foul play may have been involved. However, for now, they weren't quite certain. But soon after these initial findings, that is when they found this surveillance image. Investigating officers believed that, due to their proximity at the time of this man's death, they may have seen him shortly before he died. But with no idea who this person could be, they released the image to the public for help. So, now we have a body appearing in a public place in downtown Oxford, and a surveillance image of a hooded figure taken shortly before his death. And so the authorities had several big questions that really needed to be answered here. Who were these two people? How did that body end up in the river? And who was the poor guy? As always, these things unfortunately take quite a lot of time to develop, but what the police were able to determine is that that body belonged to a man named Jorge Martin Carreno. His next of kin were notified within 24 hours, and sadly, so began their long road to recovery, and many questions on what happened to their beloved Jorge. But before we begin our investigation, let's take a look who Jorge was and what precisely went down. This unfortunate soul was a 30-year-old man from Spain named Jorge Martin Carreno. Born in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, he migrated to the UK with his girlfriend in 2019, and although they separated soon after, they remained good friends. Now, Jorge was an engineer by trade, and had studied electrical engineering at university, and at the time of his death, he was working at one of Oxford's local BMW production plants. In fact, on the evening before he died, he had been drinking with colleagues before being separated from the group and making his way back home. Jorge's family described him as distinguished by his incredible affection, friendliness, and ability to give himself entirely to others. And his innate curiosity and creativity drove him to tirelessly explore, learn, and experiment. Jorge loved music, photography, reading, and sports. And he also played the guitar and often attended art museums with his friends. And being a triplet, he has left behind two identical brothers in a large grieving family.
Wow, man, he was a freaking triplet, y'all. His two identical twins, his other two brothers, you know what I'm saying? The triplet, I don't know the terminology, but they gonna freaking like, it's like a part of them gonna most definitely always be missing now. That all three of them can't get even older together and see each other throughout life. But as far as I want to go back to that CCTV footage that we saw so far of the dude walking down the street with the black on and the mask and all that. I know that we like to say don't judge a book by its cover, but I don't blame the police for judging that book by its cover. You know what I'm saying, man? Especially when you line the timeline up with the dude just getting murdered, Jorge just getting murdered, and then this strange dude in all black. You in all black. You got some kind of mask on. You got your hood on your head. You got a black backpack on. Like, dude, you are suspect number one. So I just say that to say that I don't blame the police for singling him out. But let's get back into it.
So, now they had a face and a name to the body, they could finally take a look at what precisely happened to him on the night that he died. And of course, they would begin with surveillance footage, cell phone data, and witness reports. The ominously sad thing is that, not even a few hours before Jorge died, one of his friends sent him a message to say that Oxford is a dangerous place, and followed up by sending an article of an attempted murder. Now, growing up in Oxfordshire, I can attest that the countryside is a very peaceful place to be, but the city, perhaps not so much. Actually, when I was around 16 years old, my cousins and I were walking through the city when one of them was hit in the face with a brick by a bunch of other kids. So yeah, it can be pretty rough. Anyway, this is where our story starts to show subtle signs of foul play, because as investigators looked deeper and deeper into the case, they realized that Jorge was not alone in his final hours. In fact, plenty of surveillance cameras captured him with this mysterious figure. More than a dozen cameras, in fact. Jorge and this stranger were documented from various locations and angles, and walking along the many streets of Oxford. So, the main questions here are, who was this hooded and masked individual? Why were they with Jorge? And what happened between the two of them?
And another question is, did Jorge really know him? Like, when I say know him, like, did he know him for a couple of days, or he just met him on the street right then? Is this a childhood friend? You know what I'm saying? Do they go years back, a couple of months back? Like, do he really freaking know him, or is this just a dude who walked over and was like, hey man, let me get a cigarette, or you got a light? And then they just start walking down the street and, talking and just having a casual conversation. See, this is why my brothers and sisters over here, I always preach. Don't be trusting these goddamn strangers out here. Now, this man might not even be a stranger, but I'm ready to get into a sermon with y'all right now. But no, man, y'all get what I'm saying, man. Just don't trust strangers. But I don't know if this is a stranger or not. But that's the main thing on my mind right now. Let's go.
On the evening of July the 24th, 2021, Jorge travelled to Oxford city centre with his friends. They travelled to the Swan and Castle pub before then moving on to the Cow and Creek at roughly 10 PM. At 1 AM, Jorge received a text from his friend warning him that Oxford is a dangerous place to be, before attaching a link to a story about an attempted murder in the city. Ominously, he would later reply to this with a smiley face emoji. At 2 AM, he then left the Cow and Creek and could be seen saying goodbye to his friends at 2:09. For the next hour, he remained in and around Oxford with other friends and eventually himself. At 3:16 AM, Jorge is seen leaning against a wall in Worcester Street while he searches for his address on his phone. And then, 4 minutes later, he is caught by another camera in Gloucester Green. He then tries to call a friend on his phone, but unfortunately the call is unanswered. After this, further searches are then made for his home address. At 3:33 AM, a surveillance camera captures Jorge accidentally dropping his wallet. And about 58 seconds later, he then walks back past it in the opposite direction. The man appears to be lost, and is still using his phone to search for his address. Meanwhile, our first surveillance camera captures the unknown assailant walking past South Lodge Park at 3:35 AM. At 3:59 AM, the unknown individual is then seen walking down Cat Street. Eventually, they then turn into Mary's Passage just seconds later. And then, at precisely 4 AM, our two characters finally cross paths. After the unknown person approaches Jorge, who is already down on the ground, they then sit down and chat for approximately 12 minutes before setting off together. Another camera then captures the two of them on Cat Street. At the time, it is unknown what their mutual intentions were, but Jorge had seemingly agreed to walk with this stranger.
That's what I was just finna say, y'all. It seemed like whoever this black hoodie guy is a complete stranger to Jorge. Jorge seemed like he lost just walking. He lost in the sauce just walking around, man, aimlessly almost. And this stranger, they was talking for 12 minutes, and all of a sudden Jorge started to freaking trust them. That's just what it seems like what happened, man. But another thing I was thinking about, y'all, is how many of these freaking stories that we watch where always be the victim going out to a bar, then late at night walking home 1, 2, 3 in the morning walking home, whether it be a female or a male. We have watched so many videos like this from so many different channels, man. And it just almost make you not even want to go out to no freaking bars. Or if you do go out, goddamn, get your ass back to the house about 11 at the least, man. I don't know, 12 might be pushing it too far, especially if you're going to be walking home by yourself. Let's go.
Then seen walking together on South Parks Road and eventually at South Lodge Park. Now, this surveillance camera in particular is a mere few hundred feet away from the River Sherwell, and more specifically, the exact area where Jorge's body was found. The discovery of this footage, plus the realization that this stranger was with him a mere meters away from where he was found, was highly suspicious to officers. Which is great, by the way, because to begin with, everyone thought that his death was accidental. In fact, his initial autopsies concluded that he'd died from intoxication and then drowning. This was despite them recognizing that he had blunt force trauma to the back of the head. If Jorge's death was an accident, then he'd have had to fall backwards, knock himself out, roll over, and then drown himself. So yeah, none of this made any sense whatsoever. But this so-called accident would be the main story for quite some time. In fact, for more than 2 years. But then, finally, some fresh evidence came to light. Forensic officers would find a Smirnoff vodka bottle cap next to Jorge's body, and after analysing it, they found it contained his DNA and the DNA of another unknown individual. And after reviewing the surveillance footage more closely, they realised that the person walking around with Jorge that night seemed to be carrying that vodka bottle. And so, the next big question to the authorities was Jorge really killed? And if someone had planned to murder him, then why? The truth is, for a very long time, nobody knew what precisely happened to Jorge. And while his death did seem suspicious to many, they had no solid evidence, or even a person of interest for that matter. The city of
I understand that the freaking police, they don't really have a clue who could have done this, but I feel like they dropped the ball by letting this case go cold for 2 years. You know what I'm saying, man? Like, they thought it was an accident. That's a hell of an accident to have. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, y'all should have looked a little harder into this. Like, y'all could have got that whole evidence with the bottle and linked all that DNA up 2 freaking years ago while the case was still fresh, while the killer was... It was a lot easier than 2 years later to catch him. That's my problem with it right there, my brothers and sisters. I just feel like y'all wasted freaking 2 years in this case. Let's go.
Of Oxford would soon return to business as usual. Those walking around at night soon forgot about the strange death by the river, and the hooded figure seemed to slip out of the minds of almost everyone. Meanwhile, back at home in Spain, Jorge's family were left with open wounds and relentless questions. Tragically, that would remain the case for over 2 years, until one day, the authorities received a strange phone call. The caller was a trans woman from the United States, and she was calling to report that her partner, who lived in Oxford, had recently admitted to murdering a man. So, her partner's name is Scarlett Blake, and let me tell you, we will be learning a lot about Scarlett over the next 10 minutes. Because, quite frankly, this is one seriously messed up individual. So, let's begin with their relationship. Ashlyn Bell, who lived in the US, was in a relationship with Scarlett Blake, who was 23 years old at the time of Jorge's murder. Scarlett is also a trans woman, and lived on Crotch Crescent, which is in the same area where Jorge's body was found. After finding each other over the internet, the two struck up an online relationship. And it seems that both of them shared some rather sick fantasies. Ashlyn claimed that Scarlett had a morbid interest in killing living creatures, and that, furthermore, they would fantasize about murdering animals and other people. And furthermore, Ashlyn told the authorities that Scarlett had confessed to murdering Jorge with a garrote before throwing him into the river. Sadly, this story gets even worse. In March of 2021, Scarlett's neighbors became worried when their cat suddenly disappeared. You can likely tell where this is going, but the long story short is that Scarlett is to blame. After buying a cat trap and cat food, she eventually caught the unlucky feline. Now, I need to be quite vague with the details here, but after capturing the cat, she bought a camera, a tripod, and studio lights. And after that, she murdered the cat while live streaming it to Ashlyn. This included dissection, skinning, decapitation, and then even using a blender. Now, I'm gonna be quite honest with you.
Using a blender? That's the cherry on top. Did y'all just hear everything Adrian just said he did to the freaking cat while live streaming it to Ashlyn? And then he put the damn cat in a... Man, I don't even know if YouTube allow me to be saying stuff like that, man. That is free. This dude got he might be in the top 10, 5, 3, 2, 1 of the most craziest mother we ever heard about over here, my brothers and sisters on our channel. This man is crazy as hell. Let's go.
With you here, but after reading all of the details of this case, and more specifically what happened to that cat, I did really struggle to finish this one. Many of you know about Nero and how much he means to me, and the idea of being able to do such evil things to an animal just really sinks my stomach.
Me too.
Although the world is slowly waking up to cats and the actual depth of their capabilities, many people still don't understand how intelligent, friendly, adaptable, and lovable these animals can be. Humans and cats have been companions for as long as 12,000 years. Initially utilized to defend humans from rat and mouse infestations, cats are now commonly adopted for companionship. Better seen as tiny roommates who love their own space, most will still appreciate being in the same room as you. And if you raise them correctly, well, let me tell you, you've got a friend for life. As some of you will already know, Nero spends most of his days next to me on my desk, on my lap, or beside me at night. And even if he's not the sharpest crayon in the box, he sits, does tricks, and tries to mirror my behavior. So
it's so crazy that Adrian is talking about cats right now, y'all. Let me tell y'all a quick story. Long story short, short story, long story. So at my job, there was a little kitten, probably like over a year ago now, that just walked up onto the like the property, you know what I'm saying? I work at a warehouse, walked up outside on the outside of the parking lot, but inside of the fence of the property, you know what I'm saying? Like the outside area before you enter the building. And I work at a trucking warehouse where big 18-wheelers and all that come. Long story short, story long, the cat never left. We seen the cat grow up from a little kitten. People was feeding the cat. It had basically became everybody at that job cat. You know what I'm saying? Like we was all owners of it. Like it wasn't scared of none of us. It didn't F up nothing. It was just always there chilling, doing its own thing. But it never freaking left, y'all. It never freaking left. And yesterday when I got to work, oh man, my homeboy, he was walking in front of me. Dude I work here, he was walking in front of me. Then he was like, "Hey, Stack, is that the cat right there?" And I was like, "Well," because I couldn't see it. Then he was like, "Ain't that the cat that be over here?" Then I looked, damn cat laid out in the road dead, y'all. Oh my God, man. I was like, what the is going on? The cat got hit by a truck or a car or something, man. And everybody at work was just talking about, oh man, somebody they ran over our cat, man, because everybody was liking the cat, man. The cat was cool with everybody at the job, man. He got ran over, y'all. And like I said, we seen it grow up from a little scary kitten to a grown adult cat chilling with us, and it was just But like I said, man, that was just a little effed up story within a effed up story that we watched from Adrian, and it's just so crazy and ironic that he's talking about cats. But let's go.
With that said, you can probably understand how much this fucker angers me. Revealing this information to the authorities was a massive blow for Ashlyn, as she would confess that she was part of the problem. In fact, that livestream was a birthday present to her. But she also knew that, at her own expense, coming forward was instrumental in convicting Jorge's killer. Within this livestream, Scarlett was seen smiling and laughing while murdering the cat, and also confessed that she would love to do this to a human one day. To make things even more twisted and incomprehensible, it was soon learned that Scarlett had even adopted the persona of a cat, and would often meow at friends and family. And if that wasn't enough already, she had even found a pet microchip, added all of her personal details to the nation's animal database, and then inserted that microchip inside one of her breasts. Now, all of this is incredibly sick stuff to even think about, let alone commit, but Ashlyn claimed that all of it were true, and even worse, she had the evidence to prove it. As you already know, Jorge walked the dark streets of Oxford with this mysterious figure in a hooded jacket. Well, At 2:30 AM that very same morning, and a mere couple hours before his death, Scarlett sent a picture of her wearing the very same jacket to Ashlyn. In fact, just moments later, she then set off to find and kill Jorge in the same clothing. This jacket was then sent to Ashlyn Bell in the United States, where officers would soon recover it for examination. Rather disgusting side note, it had Ashlyn's semen all over it. And so, with all of this information now in the hands of the authorities, they decided to pay Scarlett Blake a little visit and finally arrest her. Even still, she would complain about being grumpy and having to give up smoking.
Negative patches or something?
They could do that. So what we've got here is we've got a healthcare professional, so basically a nurse at custody. If you're, for instance, you need nicotine, then I think they've got those. Do they not? Oh, maybe they don't.
Nice, but...
No, they used to, but I think they stopped that, yeah, double check. But for some reason, I want to say they stopped.
Yeah, I'm probably just out of date with my information.
It's not that many, well, I mean, well, most vape nowadays, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
It's a little percentage of nicotine, isn't it?
It's not... Yeah, it's not too bad. It's going to be grumpy for a while, which is annoying, but I suppose... I don't know, it's, because like being arrested and also withdrawals.
All at the same time.
Yeah, it's not a great concoction, is it?
Best sort of combo. Could be worse though. At least it's not genocide.
That's right, she was then heard saying, "It could be worse, at least it's not genocide." Following Scarlett's arrest, many new details came to light. They would find many images on her mobile phone, including a picture of a handmade garrote, which she had made from 2 metal handles and piano wire, and a picture saying "bruise my esophagus," which was incorrectly spelled. Another picture shows a comic of a man and a cat talking while they clean up a murder scene, and another shows a first date with me starter pack, including a knife, gun, tape, and rope. A 5th photo was about a type of woman she's into, showcasing 2 women which have already appeared on this channel. It was soon learned that Scarlett's earliest premeditated actions began in January of 2021, when, at the time, she bought a humane cat trap from eBay. In February of 2021, she then bought a Smirnoff Ice vodka bottle. Authorities say that they later found the lid of this bottle next to Jorge's body at Parsons Pleasure, and although it may not be the exact same lid, it at least confirms that Scarlett was a fan of Smirnoff. I mean, let's be real, choosing Smirnoff is a crime in itself, am I right? The following month, in March of 2021, Scarlett then purchased more than 100 pouches of cat food. And sadly, later that month, the family who owned the cat started posting missing cat posters in the neighborhood. At this stage,
I have never in my life heard of a motherfucker be more obsessed with cats than this. And not in the best way. Like, this is a dark, deep, crazy ass, what the is wrong with you type of obsession that this got with cats. He wanna be cats, he wanna kill cats, like cats. Like, I don't know, man. This is freaking freaky. And I'm gonna go and say this too. Y'all know I keep it real over here on my channel. Because I don't want nobody to be taking this right here the wrong way. I know that, cause the coffee man keeps saying she, and I guess I should be saying she too instead of he. I just don't want to get caught up in that he, she, bull-ish, man. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to either one of these two. I understand that they are transsexual people and stuff. I get it, man. It's just coming out naturally, y'all. That's why I keep saying he, even though it maybe is a she to some people. I'm just gonna shut up on that topic now. Y'all get what I'm saying. No disrespect. I'm just talking. Let's go.
Scarlett and Ashlyn had been flirting with themes of murder for several months, and tragically, this would continue for several months more. On April the 6th, 2021, Scarlett then purchased herself some combat safety boots. Surveillance cameras confirmed that these boots were the ones worn on the night of Jorge's death, and then 1 month later, in May of 2021, she then bought black clothes dye and a Stanley multi-saw. As we know, at 2:30 on the morning of Jorge's murder, Scarlett took a picture of of herself wearing a combat jacket before sending it to Ashlyn. She then set off into the darkness, looking for a drunk victim to be her prey. That is when she found Jorge on the ground at 4 AM, and sadly, the rest is morbid history. Jorge's family and friends were shocked, appalled, and even relieved to hear the news. Many of them believed that his death was not an accident, and so to put a name and a face to his killer was a very big step. However, this did reopen many wounds for the Carreno family. Many of them had been silently grieving his death for the last 2 years, and now, with Scarlett's trial on the horizon, they would have to revisit old feelings. Scarlett's trial began roughly 6 months later, where she would have to defend herself against a judge and a panel of 12 jurors. The prosecution built their case around a sadistic fantasist, one who seemed to mutilate a cat before then turning their attention towards a human. Her defense were a little weaker at the knees though, and they tried to claim that, although the story was not looking good for her, there was not enough evidence to prove that Scarlett murdered Jorge. While in court, Scarlett told the jury that apparently she was part cat, an alter ego of some sort, and that the cat part of a fragmented personality was always happy. There is a part that is just cat, and that is what the happy part of me is. In that, they come out when I am happy. With friends I know quite well, I meow at them in greeting. It is quite strange. It is very prominent when I'm expressing certain emotions. The cat has a pretty strong association with joy and, I suppose, innate goodness. It is a kind of childhood innocence. She then followed up by meowing at the jury. She also said, "I don't know how he died. I assume he drowned. It wasn't something I did. As to how, I still don't know. I wasn't there." The court learned that messages sent before and after July the 25th show that Scarlett and Ashlyn shared a prolonged obsession with harm and death. Scarlett would tell the court that she did not want to kill a living creature, let alone a person, and that, actually, it was Ashlyn who pressured her to do so. She further attributed her morbid interests to a split or dissociative personality, using the language of psychiatry to explain her behavior. Throughout their evaluations, psychologists did not find any mental illness, nor did Scarlett ever have any relevant mental illness or mental disorder in her past. She further denied murdering Jorge, and claimed that she left him near the park alive and well. And although she would eventually admit to murdering the cat, she claimed that it was to win Ashlyn's approval. Now, being blunt, Ashlyn clearly is a sick fuck, but she is not responsible for Scarlett's actions.
And that's what I was gonna say too, man. Adrian took the shit out my mouth when he said Ashlyn is a sick motherfucker too now. She just ain't had nothing to do with what Scarlett got going on with this murder to Jorge. But both of these people are, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because how could you even be in a relationship with somebody who is like that? Something got to be wrong with you too. Just that right there. Let's go.
It soon became clear to the prosecution that Scarlett's actions were strongly motivated by Netflix's documentary called Don't Fuck With Cats. Her livestream, which was carefully put together, featured the track True Faith by New Order, which can be found in the same documentary. The prosecution further suggested that on the night she murdered Jorge, she was carrying a murder kit, which included a garrote and leopard print dressing gown cord. No surprise though, Scarlett would deny all of these allegations. It was also learned that in the days after Jorge's murder, Scarlett took photos of the memorial left by his family and the tree next to which she had killed him. She then returned to the same spot 1 year later, where she took a photo of herself next to the tree. By now, she had broken up with Ashlyn, and during this time, she had boasted about murdering this man to her new partner. During her trial, the pathologist ruled out the possibility that Jorge died immediately after being strangled. Instead, there were 3 possibilities. He could have been strangled with a ligature or neck hold and then lost consciousness before drowning, have been knocked out unconscious with an object and then drowned, or have been held under the water until passing away. Now, it is true that a combination of 2 or more of these factors could have also caused his death, but the court heard that hemorrhages found within his facial tissues and at the base of his tongue cannot be explained if his death was an accident. Furthermore, if Jorge's death was theoretically an accident, then bruises on the back of his right shoulder and the left of his head could only have been sustained if he had fallen backwards, hit the concrete slab at the water's edge, and then rotated to be face down. In short, this simply being an accident was not adding up. None of this.
I think we all can just pretty much be confident and sure that this is not an accident. This is not an accident, and more than likely, this person that we looking at right now did it.
This was good news for Scarlett's trial. Not that you would know how she felt, as she remained mostly emotionless throughout the entire process. At the end of her 3-week trial, the jury would only take a few hours to come to their verdict, and no surprise, they unanimously found her guilty of 1 count of murder. Scarlett Blake was therefore sentenced to life imprisonment, with 24 years behind bars before being eligible for parole. In addition to this, she was also given a measly 4 months for murdering her neighbour's cat, which, if you ask me, is despicably insufficient. Now, Parliament has recently increased the maximum sentence for animal cruelty from 6 months to 5 years. However, because Scarlett's actions occurred before this change was made, her sentence is based on old grounds. Following her trial, Jorge's family were relieved to hear the verdict, and so, in response, they released a statement to honour him. Today, his absence leaves a deep wound in our hearts. His life was stolen, cutting short his projects and dreams. This tribute is not just a reminder of Jorge, but also a call to justice. There can be no peace until justice is served. May this inexplicable loss drive us to a fight for a world where justice prevails, and where we can build a safer future for everyone. Every day, we will remember Jorge, his laughter, his joy, his zest for life, and of course, all those unforgettable moments we shared.
Rest in peace to Jorge, man. But I think that was a pretty good verdict, y'all. I think that was a good verdict, man. Life, 24 years before you even have a chance at parole. You know, I wish it would have been life without parole. I'm just saying, but I think I'm okay with that one. I think I'm okay with that one. I just hope that in 24 years the motherfucker still be locked up. But who knows? Let's go.
Their extended tribute was beautiful to read. Jorge was marked as a man with a great sense of humour. He was kind, ambitious, and, above all else, an incredibly good person. Moving from Spain to the beautiful city of Oxford, he was on his own path in life, exploring various cultures and ways of living along the way. It was during his time out with friends, or colleagues who loved him enough to see him out of work, that he was taken advantage of, all for the sick profit of fulfilling an evil fantasy. As described by his family, his loss feels like a traumatic, devastating blow, leaving a void impossible to fill. When you think about it, Jorge's murder was so incredibly senseless and tragic. I mean, he didn't even know his killer a mere few hours before his death. And while I do believe in a world where all of us can be safe out at night, we still must exercise caution in public.
True.
And although these stories do tend to involve female victims, that does not mean that men are exempt. Anyway,
True.
folks, I think I'll wrap this case up here today. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate you being here. Before you go though, I do have 2 questions for you. To begin with, what do you think about this story? Because for me, I found this one to be so infuriating. And the second question is, what did you think about the style of this video? I tried to do a few things differently here, including script structure, change of music, and a few other small effects. So, with that in mind, what are your thoughts? If you'd like to support me in the channel, check out my Patreon here, or alternatively, my social media here. Anyway folks, that is it today. Thank you again so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you again very soon for another one. Until that moment arrives though, remember to look after yourself, look after each other, and of course, stay safe. Thank you, and goodbye.
Another great Coffee Man Friday, y'all. Man, listen, more than anything, like I said earlier, and I'll say it again and again and again, rest in peace to Jorge, man. Dude looked like he had a great future ahead of him. He just looked like he got caught up in the wrong place. I don't know if he was drunk when he was out there just walking and he was lost or what was going on, man. And like I had said, and Adrian said it too at the end of the video, man, it is so many different stories of people people late at night walking by themselves and they end up losing their life. And like he said too, and I said too, man, it don't matter if you're a man or a woman, my brothers and sisters. We gotta be safe out here. We gotta be smart and we gotta be freaking safe, man, because ain't no telling, man. It was a freaking stranger. And I was wondering at one point, like, do this person know him or is this just a stranger? And I was saying, like, you know how a stranger, a complete stranger, just walk up to you and be like, hey, bro, you got a lighter? You know what I'm saying? Just ask you some random question, and then after they make that random question, now they starting to talk to you, and then they were talking for 12 minutes sitting on the bench, and all of a sudden now they walking, and then all of a sudden Scarlett killed them, man. It's just like, oh man, one thing just led to another, man. And speaking of Scarlett, oh my God, I don't even want to talk too much about that motherfucker, man. That motherfucker was crazy, man. That motherfucker thought that he or she, whatever you want to say, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, I said it again, whatever you want to say, they thought they was a freaking cat, but they was freaking murdering cats at the same time. Then they went from murdering cats to murdering humans. Like, the stuff that was on their mind, they had no remorse for what they did to Jorge. I'm just glad that they did get freaking life in prison with the 24 years, you know what I'm saying, before parole. I'll take that. And like Adrian said, I feel him 100% with the whole cat thing, man. I feel like people should get some years in prison for freaking murdering animals, domestic animals like that, freaking pets. This wasn't even her goddamn cat, man. I'm just saying it was her neighbor cat. And did you gonna freaking murder her? Like, come on, man. And it got the same thing for dogs and all that, y'all. But I'm a freaking pet lover anyway, so some of y'all may not care as much as I do about that. But I digress. I'm gonna let y'all go, man. We have been here long enough, my brothers and sisters. But before y'all leave, please, 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 please hit that like button, comment, subscribe if you ain't did that yet. And come on back tomorrow for another The Wi-Fi Saturday. But until then, my friends, I also got to say this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.